During the pandemic, builders built at a crazy pace, and that actually caused a lot of issues when it came to building and build quality. In fact, if we look at this article right here, it talks about how a woman put thousands of dollars down on a deposit only to find out that this home was leaking through the post-tension beams, and they actually interviewed an inspector. The inspector was saying how terrible this was. You know, recently I actually had a client that let me know all the things that happened to their house after they bought it during new construction. So we're talking about pandemic years, right? So 21 through about 23. And there was a myriad of things that happened to this property after they closed. It was every week of warranty claim, warranty claim, warranty claim, from windows leaking to the craziest things possible. So today what we're gonna do is go through it. I'm gonna bring on an inspector on the channel, and what we're gonna do with my inspector, someone I use all the time, is go through and talk about the things, if you're looking at homes between 2020 and 2024, what you should be looking at when you're buying one of those homes, and make sure that one of these builds didn't impact you. Secondly, look, I like to give a lot of good information on this channel and educate you on the buying process. We help a lot of buyers with new construction, so I wanna go through what you should be aware of when you're buying new construction, and we'll ask Ross these questions as well. So here we go. Oh yeah, by the way, Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. Okay, so we are here with Ross with Triple Pass Inspections. Ross is the man. He does probably most of our inspections for our clients. So Ross, during 2020 to 2023, during the pandemic, you did a lot of new construction, right?
I did.
What are some of the things that you saw in new construction that maybe builders missed that could have turned into big ticket things had you not caught them?
So what I saw is just a different amount of crews that came in and left the job. And you know, they would have to get another crew to come in to correct that stuff. And some of the things is just you know, workmanship is you know, sealing up the windows, making sure that the framing is tidied up, you know, making sure that, you know, the framing is cut properly. Saw a lot of different twisted boards in the 2x4s, and that really impacts where the outlets sit. So trying to get that corrected at the framing stage is very important.
So there's obviously different inspections, right? So you're gonna have your pre-drywall inspection, you're gonna have a foundation, right? All of these different inspections. During these phases, what do you think is the most important that if it doesn't get caught during that time is going to be a bigger issue down the line? Yeah,
so some of the main items that I see are the anchor bolts, you know, holding the framing to the foundation, missing, you know, the nuts, or maybe missing the bolt that has to be installed every you know, amount of space in the framing of the footer. A lot of things I also see is, you know, missing joist hangers up in the rafters, up in the beams, as well as you know, striker plates around the plumbing, you know, to protect that when cabinet gets put up against it, so they're not drilling into it.
So what he's talking about are these little anchor bolts, and how far should they be from each other, and how many should there be?
They should be every 33 inches apart, and they should also have a nut on it with a washer, making sure that it's secured to that footer. A lot of times these are also rusted because the house is opened up, you know, for so long of a time, and making sure that the nut gets properly set on there is very crucial to this holding the framing down to the foundation.
Yeah, because when I mean, we did several inspections, and I think this is on almost every inspection I saw. Because we're in Texas, we get lots of crazy windstorms. You see those houses that have just fallen over. Is that part of why they've fallen over, or is it the joist braces too?
It could be a combination of the both, just depending on how the wind's hitting it and you know, what they're using as far as, you know, 2x6s or 2x4s.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on, is it a production builder or is it more of a custom builder, and what the materials they're using.
Now you were talking about the striker plates. What I think is really important to think about is, this is one of the biggest things, right, is going to be the plumbing stuff. So striker plates are plates that get put on around plumbing, around electrical, primarily, right? And so like if you're going to put like a 2x4 against this, you don't want somebody to nail through and hit your plumbing. So I've seen that several times where you'll see a leak in the wall. Like, why is there a leak in the wall? And it's because a nail's stuck, either one of these PEX pipes or the return pipe.
Another key thing is, you know, some of these fasteners aren't properly secured, so there could be a lot of movement once the drywall goes up, and a nail could hit that that PEX tubing and puncture it as well. So making sure that it's properly seated in there, as well as the electrical lines, making sure everything is secured properly at the bins into the outlet box. They're drilling through all the studs and making sure it's not too close to the end where the drywall is going to be. So if it was, there'd be another plate right there to protect that electrical line.
Yeah, I mean, that's the things that you don't want to have happen is all of a sudden now you got to put a big hole in the wall to go back and fix because now your electrical's not working, or pick an even bigger hole in the wall because the plumbing. The article that we referenced earlier, the woman went to buy the home and the post-tension cables were leaking water out of it. So post-tension is a cable that goes through the concrete, right? And that's how we do it here in Texas. Once you tighten those, it gives you a stronger foundation. Am I close?
That's correct, okay. Yes.
And so in the article, what probably happened is those post-tension cables got tightened and it probably hit the plumbing line. So what should they be looking for before they even pour the foundation? Yeah,
so they should be looking at where that PVC is placed in proportion to that cabling or the rebar, and make sure that it's two inches away from that. So when they do pull it tight, it's not going to impact the PVC or the PEX tubing that's under there.
Cool, okay. So what are the other big ticket items? Let's say you're buying a home and it's new construction, but you weren't there for all the inspections before there was sheetrock, right? You're buying it at the end and it's new construction. What do you see a lot during those final walkthroughs, and what do you think are the big ticket items people should really be paying attention to?
Mainly the electrical, because it's such a safety item, as well as plumbing, because obviously, there could be signs of leaking that could take years to develop. And then at some point, the new ownership, the new owner takes over the house and a moisture stain in the ceiling and don't know where it came from. And, you couldn't see it buried into the insulation up in the attic.
One thing I've seen on inspections too is that the windows weren't sealed properly. Anything on that you think that people should be aware of?
Yeah, so just making sure that they're sealed properly. If there's a big, a lot of these production builders will have a bigger gap in the window. So what's recommended is having that spray foam around the window, okay, making sure that it's nice and sealed and there's no air exposure or gaps.
So this home is probably not ready to have the sheetrock. So I'd imagine they still have to go through and they have a ticket to go through and finish that if you're looking at this house. What are some big ticket items that, I see AC issues where the AC doesn't work at closing or things like that. What are the other big ticket items besides electrical that you think that people should be looking for?
Yeah, so just making sure that the builder is running the proper ductwork into each room. Okay. I've done not many, but I've done several phase inspections where there's no vents in the room. So it's like, how's the air going to get to this room? But so just calling that out on the report and making sure that it gets back to the builder and corrected in a timely manner is very important. But also making sure that all the joist hangers that you see up there in the beams is fastened properly with all the fasteners in each nail hole. So a lot of times is they're short 1 or 2 or 3, but that could impact the force on that from the roof.
Okay, so see these joist hangers up here. So that silver piece underneath the bottom of the board there. What'll happen a lot of times is the fact that what he's saying is they don't put all the nails in those holes to actually have that secure. Do you think that it causes, especially when people are walking upstairs, that creaking sound, or what happens? What is that from?
That's more on the subfloor not being installed properly with the glue as well as the nails. So, a lot of times they'll miss the beams up there in the subfloor and it's not getting a solid, connection to that beam. So a lot of times there's air, pockets in there that you'll hear as you're walking over it.
Yeah, it's always painful when you're going to sell a property resale and all of a sudden people complain about the creaking sound upstairs. Yep. I mean, I see it on resale all the time. And then the buyer's like, well, the floor's squeaking. We want that fixed.
And a lot of other things, popping up on the roof, if the shingles are installed and making sure that all the plumbing boots are installed, the exhaust vents. So when that drywall does go in, it's not going to, cause any, moisture to come inside and do any damage at the drywall phase.
Yeah, I think the roof is something really important because I've had this happen where I had a 2-story house, and one of the gutters was facing alongside the way the shingles were. And so what happened is when we got a ton of rain, it didn't happen until we got a lot of rain, it shot the water across the shingles and up under a vent. And then I started leaking in the roof. So you think that there's a lot of big roof issues that you see as well? Because I mean, I've seen them, but. Yeah,
mainly on the flashing side. Not using the proper flashing in the valleys.
He doesn't need flashing like coming out of the shower flashing, all right?
This is metal flashing going in the valleys and where it's going to divert that water as it comes off the roof and at a rapid rate. You know, it's traveling fast and it's going to hit the drip edge and hopefully, you know, go away from the house. But making sure that up in the eaves are flashed properly. If it's a combination between stucco and stone, just those mixtures of different siding is very crucial to make sure it's sealed properly.
That's a ton of information. I'm sure everybody that's watching this is going, oh my God. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and they're building, and what's the best way to reach out to you to have you inspect their properties? Yeah,
the best way to reach out to me is just either email at ross@triplepass-home-inspection, or I can be reached at 512-626-1882 for easy scheduling.
So one last final tip then, if somebody's doing an inspection, what's the one thing that they should freak out? If they saw something on there and the builder goes, oh, it's no big deal. What's that one thing? This might take you a second to think about, because I have this happen all the time. Builders like, oh, that's no big deal. It's no big deal. Eileen had this problem one time where in the plumbing, there was a boil in the pipe. And so what happened is they had to dig through the concrete right before closing, through the flooring, through everything, and they had to actually remove that piece of piping and replace it. So what's the one thing that you see build? I said I took a while to tell that story so he could think about this.
Loaded question.
It's a loaded question. If an inspector says, hey, this is a big deal, but the builder's saying this is not a big deal, what's the one big deal thing that you think people should pay attention to if a builder's saying not to?
I think one of the biggest deals is at the phase inspection is to look at the weatherproofing on the outside of the house and making sure that everything is sealed properly. Because once that stucco or once that hardy board or once that stone gets installed, there's no way to correct that. And making sure that everything is sealed properly so no moisture gets inside the house is very critical. So
the last question here, if you're buying a home between 2020 and 2023, I know this is kind of a loaded question as well. Do you think people should be wary of buying those homes for bad craftsmanship, or do you think that they should just make sure they have a really good inspection?
I think they just should make sure that they have a really good inspection, getting everything thoroughly checked. That's why I call my company Triple Pass Home Inspection, because I'm going through 3 times looking at everything from the foundation to the walls, and then popping up on the roof and getting into the attic and making sure that everything is thoroughly looked at. To make sure that they're getting a good deal, or making sure that everything that they're buying here is they're not going to have any issues in the future to hopefully ease their minds of buying that house.
Awesome. All right, there you go. Jeremy Nathan Group, your favorite Austin realtor. You got all the tips here. If you want to call Ross, we'll put his information in the description as well. If you want to reach out to us as your agent, we'll do that as well. We'll see you in the next video.